Catch it with 976 Tuna.
Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting edition of Catch It. And we're at Point Loma Sport Fishing down here in San Diego with a great group of guys ready to take off on a 2-day trip with 976 Tuna. We're going to be on board the Eldroado, and she sure is a beautiful ship. She's been around for so many years and caught so many fish, and with great skippers and crew, the Eldroado is just a fine ride out of Point Loma Sport Fishing, and we're just so pleased she's backing into the slip and getting ready to load everybody on board. Here comes the gear, and let me tell you something about this group of guys. They were dead serious. They had all the right stuff, as we like to say, all the right tackle. As we took off out of Point Loma, they were getting that tackle ready to rock and roll. A lot of guys going to that fluorocarbon leader. That's been working so well offshore. And of course, it's a 976 tuna trip. So barbecue chicken dinner on us for everybody on board. And man, were they enjoying that. Well, of course, one of the biggest factors in determining your success on an offshore trip out of San Diego is live bait. And we're out there, you see Eddie starting to scoop some bait up, and the boys putting it on board, taking it ever so carefully and making sure not to knock any scales off that bait, putting it in there and getting ready not only to fish with that bait, but to chum up some yellowfin and some dorado. And we're hoping a lot of that stuff. During the time that the boys are putting the bait on board, still anglers are rigging up, tying up, and getting ready, and tons of bait going on board. I mean, it's so important to get a lot of bait on board to chum with and to get those fish to the boat. And of course, being prepared. Well, that's what 976 Tuna is all about, and that's what Eddie's doing with the group right now. Telling them what the plans of the Eldroado are, telling them what kind of fish they can expect, and getting everybody ready to get out and have a successful trip. And of course, working together. That means so much. When you work together, you'll catch more fish. I'll guarantee it. Eddie's telling everybody that. And this is just the perfect group because these guys are all friends. They know what they're doing, and they know how to work together. Well, it's almost time to get the lines in the water. You can see it starting to break. The sun is coming out, and we're ready to rock and roll, and right away, fish are starting to bite. We're trolling around looking for kelp patties, and that's been really the majority of the bite this year out of San Diego. Finding these kelps, there's been a little bit of tough fishing, due mostly to seiner pressure, but we've managed to come across the fish here, and guys are doing it right. Remember, we're talking about working together, keeping the fish right in front of them, following up to the bow if you have to, and just working together, up and over, under, whatever it takes. Anglers working together. Nice form here. Raising up on the rod, reeling down. You know, I can't stress it enough. You've really got to take your time on these fish. You pull hard, but not so hard that you jerk the fish off. Just nice, steady strokes like you see it here. And this guy's getting ripped right around the bow, flying right around there before he gets sawed off. Great job. And another nice fish hooked up there on the Eldroado. One of the fine deckhands there. Eddie it is, as a matter of fact. And he's ready to put the poker in another nice fish as we have a nice, beautiful mahi coming on board. And the colors of these Dorado as they come on board are just so beautiful. Look at that flathead. Look at the smile on that angler's face. And Dorado are a blast. Many times they'll put on an acrobatic air show that you just never forget. They are so colorful when they come out of the water. It's just beautiful to see the myriad of different colors that those fish possess. Well, as you can see, it's a beautiful flat calm day, and guys are hooking up right and left. Those anglers who took the time to choose a good hot bait, well, that made a huge difference. And uh-oh, what's going on here? It looks like we might have a little action with jaws out there. We're taking a look out there, and it looks like a nice big, possibly mako shark, as this guy is pulling hard on another nice fish. Here comes another flathead to gaff, another nice Dorado, as the Dorado is starting to bite. And, you know, you might be thinking to yourself, well, how common is it to catch Dorado out of San Diego? Well, it depends upon the year. And this year, we do happen to have a lot of warm water around. And these Dorado, well, they're just going to push as far up to that warm water as they can. And as far as it goes right now, that warm water puts you right on up to San Diego and beyond. And look at the size of that gorgeous, big, beautiful flathead. My God, what a fish, man, I tell you. It simply doesn't get any better than that. An absolutely gorgeous fish. We are still hanging more fish here on the Eldroado. And one of the keys, again, as we mentioned, the fluorocarbon. If you don't know how to splice that on, you just talk to one of the crew members on the Eldroado or whatever boat you're on. I was talking to Buzz over there on the Prowler the other day, and he said, sure, don't be ashamed to ask. Just ask one of the crew members. And if you're on the right boat with the right crew, and for sure a 976 tuna charter, we're going to have you on there. And then guys like Earl McVicker, they'll show you how to do that. That fluorocarbon gives you pulling power, and it also gets you bit. It's such a great way to do. Eddie, telling them, keep the fish in front of you. Make sure that fish is right in front of you. Follow your fishing. This angler's doing it perfectly and following another nice fish, keeping his eyes down there, and just putting as much pressure on the fish as he can. Not too much, because if you're really herky-jerky and you really push too hard, you can snap the thing off. But he's doing such a fine job, and Eddie's doing a marvelous job of coaching. And another fish getting ready to come to gap on a great 976 tuna charter. You know, we're not through with this season, by the way. We've got a long way to go. There's been a tremendous amount of seiner pressure. We know that. But there's still a lot of fish moving up the Baja Peninsula. The water's so warm that we have a very good shot of seeing this thing go into November. And we're hoping that it's indeed going to do that. Deep color on another nice fish coming to gap on the Eldo. This crew, I tell you, second to none. And it's another flathead, a beautiful mahi, another nice Dorado coming to gap on board the Eldroado. Beautiful, fine eating fish. I'm telling you, it doesn't get any more beautiful than that, does it? Look at the smile and look at the colors of that fish. Man, that is something special. Oh, look at that sheer determination of that angler's fish. You know he means business, and he's really pulling hard right now. He's got the right gear in terms of sunscreen. It's a good idea if you're not using sunscreen to, or even if you are, to make sure you've got some kind of hat like that. Keep that sun off. It can be very, very dangerous. And you want to, again, keep the fish right in front of you, following it down. Beautiful job here. Stroking down, winding down. Another nice fish coming to gap on board the Eldo as these anglers mean serious business. And because it was a group who all knew one another, they did work so well together. Checking that drag, Eddie said, you know what, I think you can tighten up on that a little bit and wind on this thing a little harder. So he pulled on it, checked that line, and then tightened down on that star drag just a little bit more. And now this angler's making real progress. As you look down in the water at another nice fish coming to gap on the Eldo. Looks like a yellowfin this time, and these fish biting ever so well. When they bite, I'll tell you, they'll bite just about anything you throw at them. But when they are finicky, that's when choosing that good hot bait makes all the difference in the world. And patience is a virtue. This angler taking his time, doing a fine job. And on board coming a nice yellowfin tuna. Nice job, tremendous crew, and great angling. And gosh, is he happy, and for good reason. Just a beautiful fish. These fish are well taken care of on board there. And I'll tell you what, first tuna, you got to eat the heart. That's part of the whole thing, and this guy did it. The question always is, can you keep it down? And I guess we're not going to get the answer. Yeah, he did. And man, what a tremendous job that young man did. First tuna on board the Eldorado. More fish being hooked. Fun fishing. Not wide open by any stretch of the imagination on this Eldorado trip. It's been a little bit tougher, but gosh darn, these guys made the best of it, and they really did a fine job. See lots of life all through here, all kinds of life. And you know, if you're a private boater or even if you're on a sport boat, we want you all to contribute. And when we say we want you to look for life, this is what we mean. We want you to look for bird schools, and that's just birds hovering above a school of breaking fish normally. These fish are going to push the bait fish to the surface. The birds are going to get on it, and those birds are going to show you the way to the promised land. So you're looking for that. You're also looking for kelps. That's where these fish are going to hang. They're going to be underneath the kelps. The bait fish is going to accumulate under the kelps in many cases, and that's where the big game fish are going to come in to feed. You're also looking for breaking fish, jumping fish. All that is part of this whole scenario. And whales. Well, you can see the show we've got here for you as these whales are reaching out of the water, come flying out, and really putting on an incredible show. I'm telling you, it's part of being an angler. It's part of being a fisherman. The fact that you can go out and see something like this in the wild. And you can see this breaching whale come flying out of the water. Magnificent footage as Rick is just watching these things come flying out of the water. My God, what a show on breaching whales. It simply doesn't get any better than this. And the anglers on board watched in awe and it was just an added bonus to an otherwise beautiful, gorgeous trip. And you know, we tell you to look for life. Whales hold tuna. They do all the time. Yellowfin hang with those things and all kinds of other fish. So you want to troll right there near the whales, and in many cases, you'll find that you'll get a jig strike on these breaching whales or just whales that are traveling north or south, depending upon what time of the year it is. Just a tremendous show and really something to marvel at as we looked at those whales come flying out of the water. Eldroado crew, while admiring the whale show, still all business, and trolling lines are in the water as we wait for another jig strike on Dorado or yellowfin tuna. And it wasn't soon that we had another fish going. Talked about these fish pushing up this temperature, this warm water, and what captains look for is something we call temperature breaks. If you're not familiar with that, it's simply the break between warmer and cooler water, and that area is where those fish are going to pile up. Let's say, for example, that the Dorado are fond of 72-degree water, and this finger of 72-degree water extends up to Ensenada, where it bumps into some 65-degree water. Real hard edge is what we would call that. And those fish are going to go up that 72-degree water, poke their nose across it into the 65, and they're going to bounce right back into that 72 and hang right there because they're going to continue to try to push their territory and continue to move up. And they're going to bounce into that 65 and come back into the 72. And that's why these skippers, and if you are a private boater, that's why you concentrate on temperature breaks. The fish have a very big tendency to pile up on those temperature breaks. And these guys are looking for that all the time, and they have sophisticated satellite technology that can show them the break temperature gauges on board the boat. Their eyeballs, you can look out and see temperature breaks sometimes, and it is ever so important to pay attention to all of that. Of course, if you're on the Eldorado, you've got the luxury of kicking back, having a cheeseburger, and letting those guys worry about it. And believe me, they do a fine job putting us on more fish. Another hookup, another great technique. Lift up on the rod, wind down, perfect way to go. Look at the arms on this guy. Heck, I'd hate to get in a wrestling match with him, and I think that fish is probably feeling about the same way right now as he's doing a great job. Looks like he's stressing a little bit. Whoops, maybe pulled a little too hard. No, it happens to all of us, and every once in a while you'll pop one off. Gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful morning. It is just as lovely a day as you could ever expect as we are getting ready for more fish to come on board the Eldorado. Look at that beautiful Dorado laid out there. It's a gorgeous fish. Look at the colors on it. You know, if you happen to be a novice angler, 976 tuna charters are for you. If you're an expert angler, they're for you. Because I'm telling you right now, our guys know what they're doing. Our staff is second to none. And you end up with some awesome footage from your trips on most of our shoots. We do some fine work out there. And, of course, you guys are the stars of these shows. Another star, another nice mahi, beautiful Dorado. So if you're a novice angler, come on out, let us show you how much fun this can be and teach you a little bit about being a better saltwater angler. I'm sure you'll learn a lot from guys like Bill Blake, and Bill did a magnificent job on this. Earl McVicker, Rick Santella, Larry Brown, all the folks that make up 976 Tuna. I'm telling you, they'll make your trip so enjoyable with some food and some t-shirts and some expert instruction and great DVD at the end of it. You're going to love the trip. But more important, don't be intimidated if you've never done this before. Let us show you how to go out on the water and have a great time. And I'm guaranteeing you by the end of the trip, you will know how to cast a bait, how to pull on a fish, and how to hook some nice, big, beautiful fish, just like you see these great guys doing on board this two-day trip on a great September 2-day in 2005. Oh, the agony and the ecstasy. Sometimes you pop them off, but the great thing is there's plenty out there, so you can go get another one. Dorado, by the way, are very fast-growing fish. They really get big in a hurry, so they really are a fish that we're not worried about in terms of how they're doing. They're doing just fine. The stock of Dorado is in good shape. Commercial pressure is the biggest threat to the Dorado, but they grow fast, and man, I'll tell you, they are just so much fun. They're great eating, and they're an absolute blast. And so many times we equate catching Dorado with areas like Costa Rica or Panama, Cabo San Lucas, Hawaii. It's just so neat to be able to go out of San Diego and find these beautiful fish. And of course, as the year 2005 went on, we started to see Dorado up toward Catalina and beyond. As again, they're just going to push to the fringe of the warm water until they bump into the water that's uncomfortably cool for them. They'll keep pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, and knocking into those edges. What a magnificent show we had on the Dorado. Just a lot of fun. Most of them not all that big, but as you saw, a couple of big full Dorado and another nice yellowfin coming on board. A nice mixed bag fishing, another nice one, and a great job by some wonderful people. Rick and Bill told me that they'll fish with this group any time of the year. They were such nice folks. But you can just see that they're having a great time and doing a great job on board the Eldroado. And this fish giving this guy an awful tussle, really fighting hard. Keep a bend in that rod. You want to make sure you keep that rod up, keep bending it in most cases. And that's the way to make it happen, but he's doing a fine job pulling on another nice fish. Remember, we still have several trips this year in 2005, and next year we'll have a whole bunch of new trips. And you can take a look at our homepage at www.976tuna.com anytime, and we'll have a list of our charters, and we would truly look forward to being of service to you all and showing you how to catch a few more fish. Another nice yellowfin coming to Gap here as the YFT we're biting. Doesn't get any better in terms of some fresh sashimi. If you like sashimi, you're going to love ahi, and that's what yellowfin tuna is. There's nothing better, and it's so tasty. And the crew takes such good care of the fish. It's sushi quality when you get it back home. And by now, I think you've been noticing, I don't see very many times when an angler is hooked up with a fish when somebody from the Eldroado is standing there with a gap and talking them through it and doing a great job. I mean, this crew was on top of things, and that makes all the difference in the world. You can go out on a trip and not catch many fish at all. And if the crew is good and the people are nice and the food is decent, you're going to have a good time. Wow, nice yellowfin coming to Gap. Love seeing that. Another happy angler, and a lot of it due to what I just told you about that Eldroado crew being right there at your service, doing a great job. Another nice fish. Man, these things are running everybody right up to the bow, and it's another nice fish up there pushing around. You got to go around that bow, make sure you don't get caught up in anything. There's no anchor down when you're fishing offshore, so you don't have to worry about that, but you have to get around all the equipment out there, the cat head and everything else. And again, perfect technique here. Loads of fun. Sunny, warm, offshore, flat, calm, beautiful day. And just nothing but fun for the folks on this great charter. And for the 976 Tuna staff who were fortunate enough to meet and film and interact with all these great folks. Some of you might be thinking, hey, I thought that Eldroado ran out of Long Beach sport fishing, and you're absolutely right. She does run out of there, but in the summertime relocates down to Point Loma, and that's where you'll find the Eldroado. You can charter the boat, you can go on some of her open party trips, and of course, she'll be back at Long Beach sport fishing white sea bass here in the wintertime, right on into the spring, fishing San Clemente Island yellow, Santa Barbara Island yellow, and everything in between. You can always have a great time on the Eldroado, as Mike Ridlew has really done a great job. Steve running the boat just does fabulous work. Another flathead, another nice Dorado. Man, I'll tell you, Dorado on the Eldroado, it just sounds so perfect, doesn't it? Here comes the yellowfin on board. Another nice fish just all over the place. And again, while it wasn't wide open, there was plenty for everybody to do to enjoy some marvelous, marvelous meals on the Eldroado. The great crew, the wonderful weather, and those preaching whales. I love that so much. What a treat for everybody on board. Not a bad time of the year for everybody to check their equipment out. You know, it's getting late in the season. If you fished a few times and you hang a big flathead like this, you don't want to lose it because of your drag washers or anything like that. So not a bad time to get your reels checked out before a late fall trip like this and make sure that everything is in order. And once again, these warm water species are going to show up in the fall. That's when our water heats up here in Southern California, if it is going to heat up at all. It did so rapidly this year that it chased this albacore right on out of here. We had an inconsistent albie season. It started in June and bit fairly well. We had some marvelous fishing there, but it was very spotty. It didn't really come together. The warm water push did, and that albacore said goodbye. Now, the albacore are cooler water tuna. We've been talking about the warm water stuff. The albacore get out of the hot water. They just take off and they go up in search of cooler water, like the 65-degree water we've got on Morro Bay here. And that's why Morro Bay gets their 65-degree water in the fall. They also get their better weather months during that time of the year, and that's when you're going to find some really great fishing on albacore. But pushing into the area, and that's going to happen September, October, and into November in San Diego. If you're looking ahead and planning for 2006 or some other year, that's when you're going to find this mixed bag variety in most years. You're going to find the Dorado. You're going to find the yellowfin tuna. You may find some big-eye tuna. And boy, I'll tell you, it can really, really get good at times. Nice job here. Another nice fish on the Eldo. And a nice bunch of equipment here on board. These guys fighting hard, having a ball, and enjoying themselves on another 976 tuna charter. Another nice YFT coming on board. Nice yellowfin tuna. Nothing but smiles. Eddie, good job. What a guy. And the folks on board just having a really wonderful time. And the Eldroado is a big vessel, so there's plenty of room to move up and down. You can see that these guys, in most cases, tuna fishing, Dorado fishing, you got to really put your track shoes on sometimes and just start rocking and rolling and running in some cases. These fish will make dramatic, quick bursts on you, and you got to stay right with them. So make sure you're ready to move at a moment's notice. And be polite. You can just say to the guy coming through and give me some room, and most anglers will be sure to do that. If not, just give them a stiff one right in the jaw. No, I'm just kidding. Just make your way through and keep that fish right in front of you, and that'll always work out for the best. We had several young men on this trip, and that's always so nice to see. You can see what a great job they're doing. Many of them catching their first tuna, their first Dorado. It is such a great thing to get young people involved in sport fishing. We at 976 to try to do our part with our youth fishing program. Over 30,000 inner city kids have gone fishing with our program, and as we look at this right now, we love to see these young guys out there pulling on fish. I should say young gals too, because we've got plenty of them out there pulling on fish, and it's just a wonderful sport. It opens kids' eyes to the wonders of the ocean and everything that surrounds it, with the bird life and the mammals and the wonderful fish. And kids that fish on the water grow up and want to protect it, and that's what our goal is at the youth fishing program. And I know that's kind of what the goal is here with this group. Introducing kids to fishing is so very important, and making them realize that this environment, this beautiful gift that we've all been given, the Eastern Pacific Ocean, is ours to keep or lose. It's ours to protect, and that's why we've got to make sure we're abiding by all the rules and regulations and making sure we're doing our part to keep this ocean clean and keep it bountiful. Nice job on another yellowfin tuna coming to gaff on the Eldorado. That fish is going to be frozen down below and preserved in the highest quality, so that when you go home, you decide to have some sashimi, or you decide to put it on the barbecue, or you're going to make fish tacos out of it. it's going to be the freshest fish you've ever eaten. I've got friends that come over all the time and say, what in the heck? This isn't fish. I don't believe it's fish, and it's because they buy the store-bought stuff all the time. And if you don't know that there's a huge difference between what you buy in a store and what you catch, well, just try it once. I'm telling you, you go out on a boat like the Eldroado, you catch a fish like that, you get a big smile on your face, you get to see breaching whales, and then you go home and you will eat the finest seafood, the finest fish you've ever tasted in your life. So much so that you'll never ever be able to go back into a store and buy fish. I can't do it. I have to eat what I catch, and I have to eat it within a few days, and I'm telling you, it is so good and so good for you. Just great job here again by the Eldroado crew. Eddie separating a couple of lines, anglers going in 2 different directions, following their fish, keeping another nice bite going, and just some fine fishing, and a great group of guys as they continue to pull on more fish here on the Eldo. All you got to do is listen to the crew. Remember that sometimes they're going to tell you to put your rod tips together so they can see where the lines are going. Sometimes they'll ask you to hand them the rod. Make sure when you hand somebody the rod that they've got it. Sometimes they don't got it, and sometimes the ocean's got it, if you know what I mean. It'll fall in. So when you hand the deckhand the rod or the captain the rod, they normally are going to tell you, I have it. And until they do, you hang on to that thing. When they say, I've got it, then you can let go and let them do it. But just pay attention and just act like a student. Just listen to these guys. They're great teachers. They're out there to make sure you catch more fish, and they're out there to make sure you have a great time. And look at this. Multiple hookups. Flat, calm, gorgeous day on the Eldo. It simply doesn't get any better than this. Nice directions going on down there with Eddie. He's doing another fine job as he continues to make sure that the anglers on board are doing their thing. You can even see some boils up there in the bow right now as some fish are up there boiling around and doing their thing. Man, I'll tell you, so important. Look at the fish on the meter. A nice jag of the stub under us. Guys are still hanging fish, and it's an incredible day that these folks on the Eldorado are not going to soon forget. Our favorite way to eat yellowfin tuna, you really want to know? Well, I'll tell you right now, we can send you a recipe, but I'll just kind of tell you that some oregano, some white wine, some olive oil, a little bit of butter, lots of garlic, some salt and pepper. Marinate the fish in that for a half hour and toss it on the Q, and you think you died and gone to heaven. You really want to get crazy, wrap a piece of bacon around it and put that on the grill, and it is magnificent. Another great way to do things is to take a skillet, heat up some olive oil in it, add some garlic, take your fish fillets, put them in there, and take your spatula and just kind of crunch that fish up and mush it all up. Now, throw in some onions, some chopped up bell peppers, throw in a little white wine, oregano, ton of garlic, and man, I'll tell you, when that fish is cooked, and don't overcook fish or I'll kill you. You don't want to do that. When it's cooked, you just add some cilantro and you've got the best fish tacos you've ever seen. And I'm telling you, you're going to think I'm crazy, but you take a nice fillet, put it in the microwave oven, you overcook it, it's going to be like shoe leather. But if you do it right, you add your spices in there, put some olive oil, a little bit of white wine, salt and pepper, some garlic, toss it in the microwave for just a little bit of time. It is like steamed fish, and it is beautiful. Another big, giant Dorado on the Eldorado. Smiles all around on a trip that the folks on board are never going to forget. Yellowfin going down into the fish hole. Dorado, just a tremendous day. We had a mako shark, nice big one on this trip. And what happened with the mako? It was free gapped, and the crew made sure that everybody went home with a nice shot of that mako shark. And man, was it delicious. Nothing better than fresh mako shark. The action just never slowed down. We were tossing bait out there and gapping more fish and just having a wonderful time on a 2-day trip. And while the action was not wide open all the time, it was good enough to make for some great memories and some great friendships that were made out of this trip. And of course, the smiles omnipresent on the Eldorado as guys were so happy to put on board another nice fish. Just wonderful fishing, and so much of it due, we think, to the Eldorado crew and this great group of guys. And we hope that the 976 Tuna experience added to it also. For one thing, we were able to memorialize this all in video form, DVD form, and you're able to watch it, and you see these fish come to the corner and put on another nice show. fish boiling back there. Rick Santilla doing the camera work and doing his usual fine work. And man, look at the fish going nuts back there in the corner, starting to rock and roll. Look at those fish boiling, coming out of the water. Awesome stuff. You get a hot bait on that, and you're going to be bit. Awesome day on the Eldroado. Awesome 2 days on the Eldroado. And remember, we certainly hope you are on a 976 tuna charter very soon. We thank you all.